Today we share the company of an incredibly brave man. Mr. Sam Bieler has faced cancer, and he has beaten it down with a vigor and an optimism rare for somebody of any age, but much less so an 8th grader. He was just 13 when he was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in 2011. Now, I remember when he told me, and I knew cancer was bad, but I didn't know the scope of the effect that it has on lives. The interminable hours of chemotherapy, the endless days in the hospital, and the months he was forced out of school. But Sam has not let this disease define him. Today he is as active a high school student as they come. Aside from his chairing of Relay's Survivorship Committee, he serves as a member of the Friends of Yale New Haven Children's Hospital Board, participates on both the math and science team, one of the best math brains I've ever met, plays on the golf team, manages the soccer team, and has raised over $30,000 for cancer events across the state, including more than $16,000 for this event tonight. And today, he stands before you cancer-free. Yeah. So please give a warm welcome to our honorary survivor, Mr. Sam Bieler.
Thank you, Jack. I was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia on February 16, 2011, 166 weeks ago. On Friday, June 6th, I will take my last chemo pill and we will be declared 100% cancer-free. My story began when I caught a cold in the 8th grade. I couldn't shake it. I had a fever and was in and out of school for several weeks, which for me was unusual, but things were about to get even stranger. It was my mom who noticed that, in addition to all my other symptoms, I had a rash of small red dots all over my feet and shins. Having tutored a kid with ALL several years before, she immediately recognized that what I had was probably not a common cold. The next day, she sent my dad and me to the pediatrician's office, and they sent us to the hematology-oncology clinic in Guilford, and they sent us to Yale New Haven Hospital. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, just go, now. I had no idea what to expect. Nobody who receives a diagnosis of cancer really does, no matter how many movies you've seen. I was afraid, I thought I was going to die, and it all felt like a nightmare that I could not escape. Although pediatric ALL has a relatively high cure rate, I was 13 years old. What did I know? One thing I knew for sure, because I had seen those movies, was that I was going to lose my hair and vomit a lot. Awesome. That's just what every 13-year-old wants. Within a day of my diagnosis, I was taken into surgery, and a catheter was inserted into my chest, so I could get chemotherapy directly into my main arteries. I had never been to a hospital before. I had never even had an ear infection. And now I was going to go under the knife. And I had cancer. And I was going to lose my hair. And vomit. A lot. Awesome. Although I may have been terrified, if you were to ask my parents, or anyone who was there with me, I was surprisingly calm for someone who had just been diagnosed with cancer. And for at least the first few days, my appetite was unaffected. I awoke from the anesthesia and promptly ate 3 grape popsicles. This was shortly followed by days of sugary cereals, vanilla ice cream, candy bars, and cupcakes, all forbidden foods. Thus began my first year of intensive chemotherapy, and hair loss, and vomiting, and all sorts of other awesomely gruesome side effects. The chemo had a huge impact on my health. It sometimes seemed like it was killing me at exactly the same rate that it was curing me. I was so nauseous that I couldn't keep down any of the food that many of our friends and neighbors generously prepared for me. I threw up nearly every meal I ate with my Aunt Lori, and she took me to some of the fanciest, most expensive restaurants in Fairfield County, and sometimes out of Fairfield County. I somehow found a way to convince her to keep taking me out. I was exhausted and couldn't go to school, although for once, I wanted more than anything to be able to. My immune system was a mess, which meant multiple blood transfusions, but worst of all, I wasn't the same person I used to be. Best of all was the fact that my friends either didn't notice or didn't care. They were what got me through it. All of it. I remember that the first thing I wanted to do, once we were settled in the hospital room, that would be my home for the next several weeks, was call my friends. I logged onto the hospital network and began messaging people. First Mikey and Patrick and Austin, then Sif, Sid the Kid, Jack, Henry, Matt, Micah, Dale, Dan, Andrew. I needed someone to talk to, someone to freak out with, someone to make me laugh, which Mikey did instantly by saying, "What's leukemia?" The messages began pouring in, and by that evening, the moms had gotten together, arranged carpools, and there were so many kids in my room that I developed a reputation in the floor for being a party animal, which is ironic, as my friends can attest to. At the moment when I needed them more than ever, my friends and their parents came through for me. No matter what I needed, one of my friends was sure to arrange for it. Like chocolate lava cakes. I totally needed chocolate lava cakes, and Becca and Aaron brought them to me. And ice cream. I needed ice cream, and Austin snuck it into my room. Tickets to Red Sox games? Who doesn't need those? Thanks to the Rileys, I got them too. And hats. I definitely needed those because, the hair thing. Thanks to the Bravermans, I was the proud owner of a customized Red Sox cap. My cousin Alex drove all night from Lehigh, showed up in my room, played video games with me for hours. My cousin Solomon had Sam Strong bracelets made for everyone in the family. When it became obvious that my hair was a lost cause, my friends came over and we all got our heads shaved together. Even Jack, who loves his hair. But most of all, I needed an Xbox, right? My parents, who were generally pretty cool, were totally not cool on the whole video game front. They insisted, with no scientific proof whatsoever, I might add, that video games would rot my brain. Of course, my friends all knew this because I spent as much time as I could at their house playing video games as I could. And Matt Gurman wasn't about to let this opportunity slip by him. If I was going to have cancer, Matt was going to get me an Xbox. He organized the gang, who organized the parents, and we returned home from my initial hospitalization to find a big box on the kitchen table. Thank you, Gurm. You changed my life for the better, and you made everything easier for me. I have to be honest, though. It wasn't so much the FIFA 11. It was knowing that my friends were thinking of me, and that they cared about how I was doing. What was really important was having people to talk to, having people who I knew had my back, having people who I could count on to help me get through the next 3.5 years. And there were moments when my friends and family were the only things that got me through. I seriously vomited a ton, like literally a ton of vomit. The intrathecal methotrexate that I had to take gave me leukoencephalopathy, which is basically a stroke, and a tongue twister. I got restless leg syndrome and red man syndrome, both of which were thankfully temporary. I needed bags of platelets and gallons of blood and bottle upon bottle of steroids. I got shots in my thighs and blood drawn from my veins over and over and over again. Then I got pneumonia and briefly spiked a fever of 108, which I didn't think was humanly possible. And I missed my brother Adam's bar mitzvah. On the day of the event, I was in the hospital, hooked up to an oxygen tank, but I wasn't alone. The Siegenthalers, Jack and Carrie and John were with me. And together we watched via Skype as my brother became a man. Then I had a bronchoscopy. Cancer is a devastating disease, no matter its form, and it takes a tremendous toll on those whom it affects. But strangely, I consider myself lucky to have taken the journey that cancer represents. I am not the same person I was before my diagnosis. I am a better person. I'm stronger, more empathetic, more flexible, more persistent, more determined. I'm more able to laugh at myself and more likely not to sweat the small stuff. And I am living proof that the money we have all raised, this year and in the years past, matters. Thanks to my doctors and nurses, thanks to thousands of cancer researchers and organizations like the American Cancer Society, and thanks to all of your efforts, I am a cancer survivor. And with apologies to Mr. Duran, Mr. Long, and Miss Davies for the cliche, I got by with a little help from my friends. Thank you.